up, you guys? Thanks so much for clicking on the video. This is going to be my recap and review for Real Housewives of Atlanta. This is season 14, episodes 9 and 10. So y'all know I've been gone for a minute, but we getting back into the swing of things. So since I'm going to be reviewing both episodes, I'm only going to tap on things that stood out to me. So first things first is Drew and her mama. So Drew and her mom are going to get pedicures. Her mom is flying in from Chicago, and her mom brings up another profit storyline. I say, here we go. But this one might actually be factual. I actually do believe in that stuff, that some people are blessed with like supernatural or heavenly gifts to like help us throughout life. So I kind of believe this part. But basically she said that the prophetess, the lady's name was like Prophet June. But she basically said that Drew needs to be careful in Atlanta. She needs a spirit of protection, and that she needs to watch out for a man or a woman with a woman's spirit. I think she said somebody with a woman's spirit, but then she said, the prophet said, sometimes if you look into the spiritual realm, you can see a womanly figure, but it could be a man with a woman's spirit. So Drew is of the thinking of like, oh my gosh, is it Sonia? Is it Sheree? Is it Anthony? And then she pushed in there Kenya. And I honestly think Drew does not see it for Kenya, but she knows that she doesn't have any allies amongst the ladies other than partially Candy, and that she is reaching out to Kenya because now Portia is not there anymore. But if Portia comes back, I bet you money she will drop Kenya to be with Portia so quick, because Drew loves her some Portia. But now Drew is like on the defense. And Drew really feels like Sonia is two-faced. And I can see it from Drew's point of view. If Sonia and Drew have been cool all this time, and now that she gets with the ladies, she's switching up, then I could get where Drew is coming from. But we got another prophet storyline. The mom is talking about we need to rebuild our villages and our sisterhoods. But I'm like, sometimes them villages and sisterhoods weren't worth building anyway. But that's just me. So then we get to Sheree. Sheree, this episode decided to have a bear it all party, basically to get rid of her feelings of Tyrone. And honestly, y'all, I don't feel bad for Sheree. Sheree had a full-on breakdown, and I couldn't tell if it was real or fake, but I was just like, girl, get it? Like, stop. And the truth of the matter is, the reason why I don't feel bad for her, in a sense, is no, do I feel like it was good for Tyrone to scam her? No. Like, nobody should be scammed out of their feelings or their money. But Sheree has known Tyrone was a scammer since season 4 when Nene told her. So it's kind of like, girl, like, you knew what he was. As well as there is so much documented evidence, shout out to Love After Lockup, and other TV shows of people being totally different when they were in prison versus getting out of prison or jail. Like, and that goes for them being either male or female. So it's like, you have evidence that these people don't act the same once they get out of prison. And for her to be like, I know he scammed all these people, but I didn't think he would do it to me. And I'm like, Sheree, you're not that special. I sometimes get mad at women specifically when we're like, I thought I was going to be different. And we have learned over a century of like evidence to know that men or even other people will not change unless they want to. Your vagina isn't any more special than the next woman. You're not even any more beautiful or intelligent than the next person. And that even if you have those things, it's not going to change someone to make them act right. They have to be the reason they want to change. There's but so much you can do to make somebody change. You can voice your concerns and your opinions, but they have to want to take that initiative to change. And for her to think that she was so different when this man went to jail, and there's been multiple people telling you, girl, he's a scammer. He's a scammer. Why would you not think he wouldn't scam you? When someone is a scammer, they are a scammer in every aspect of their lives, whether that be with their family, their romantic partners, or business wise. They scam everybody. So I'm just like, Sheree, girl, what? The only reason why I thought this episode or this portion of Sheree was interesting is in the beginning of the episode, Sheree's daughter was doing a podcast, and Sheree and Fatum were there. And the daughter was reading the article about what's his name? Tyrone, saying that like Sheree put him in jeopardy of getting like rearrested or putting his parole in jeopardy. When it first came out, I believed it because Sheree she never has a storyline. So I felt like she would go above and beyond to do something like that. But seeing her reaction, I felt like, okay, like he played her. And she was like, he was the one that put the pictures out, which I don't believe he did. I think production put those pictures out to get like, the buzz going about the show and stuff like that. But I just feel like, girl, Sheree's too old and she's too pretty to be dealing with this. But this proves to me that Sheree doesn't believe her own hype. As much as Sheree tries to hype herself up, she doesn't believe that she deserves certain things. Because there's no reason why you settled to be with Bob or you settled to be with Tyrone when there is a myriad of men out there that would probably drink your bath water if you let them to be close to Sheree. So I don't get it. So next is Marlo. So we find out that Marlo kicked Michael and William out of the house. And everybody on Twitter, even the women, were flabbergasted and disgusted in a way. And we find out that they have been acting different ever since they got the phone call from the mom. And they just ain't been acting right. She asked them if they need to go to therapy. They said no. She was talking about she needs to go to therapy. And when she sat down with Sonya and Sheree, she ended up telling them that like she kicked the boys out. She just needed a break. She was overwhelmed. She just is worried about failing. We find out that like she took away things from the boys. They broke into her room and they took them out. And they just ain't been acting right. They haven't been cleaning up after themselves. They haven't been washing their own clothes. Even though they have a laundry service, I guess it seems that they haven't been taking the initiative to get their clothes cleaned. Like I said, they broke into her room and took out the laptop that I think she took away from them as a punishment. Their rooms have been messy, been eating in the room. And then we find out that Michael punched a hole in the wall. So they're going through a lot. Like, they're young boys. It seems like, I don't know how old they are, but I'm guessing they look like they're either on the cusp of being like like sophomores or like a freshman in high school and like maybe 8th grade or 7th grade in middle school or something like that. But they're going through a lot. And I know a lot of people are mad at Marlo, but I kind of felt differently. I do think the way in which Marlo handled the situation was wrong. Telling them to get the F out was wrong because Lord knows only what their mom has told them for them to be bounced around from house to house. But I look at it from the standpoint that I think it's kind of like that saying, your eyes are bigger than your stomach. I think Marlo really wants to help her nephews and that she doesn't want them to, I guess, go through any more trauma or turmoil. But Marlo in and of itself is someone that is full of trauma and turmoil that needs to go to therapy. But Marlo is also of a certain age. Marlo is, I think, in her 50s, her early 50s or her late 40s. And we can all tell that Marlo has not done a lick of therapy or any counseling to really help her dig through and sift through all of the trauma that she's been through since she's been in foster care and dealing with a drug addict for a parent. Like, you can tell she hasn't. And I think Marlo really did in the beginning wanted to take in the boys because she has that wherewithal to do so. But I think it's also that like she's not equipped. She's not equipped. The fact that Marlo dropped them 2 kids off to her sister, who's a mother of 4 toddlers, and Marlo didn't say like my sister and her husband, or my sister and her girlfriend, my sister and her boyfriend, or my sister and her wife. It's like you dropped that, like you dropped them boys off to be to with your sister who's taking care of 4 toddlers. Now she's taking care of 6. Like, ma'am, that wasn't a good move, Marlo, nor was it a good look. But you can tell that she's overwhelmed. Like, Marlo has probably been only looking out for Marlo since she was placed in the foster care system. And I don't think she really was using the boys for a storyline. But then again, it's her life. Everybody's using everything for a storyline. But I do think in the way in which she's going about it, it does look bad on her and it's in poor taste. But I can give the lady grace. I mean, like, I don't have children. I don't. But I can only imagine, because me babysitting, I'd be ready for them to go. But I don't think she did it the right way. And I can't be that mad at her when I know people that have kids who are married that be happy for the summer so they can kick their kids out. And we not going to act like during the beginning of the stages of the quarantine that parents weren't online begging for schools to reopen because they could not handle homeschooling their kids and wanted to kick their kids out. So I get where Marlo's coming from, but I do think she could have handled that situation in a better way other than telling them to get the F out. Because that was wrong. All Marlo had to do is tell them, like, I need a moment because I'm losing myself taking care of y'all. And I want to be the best I can be for y'all because y'all haven't been afforded that opportunity to have an adult that wholeheartedly loves you and is whole enough to love you in the way that you need to be loved. But just telling them to get the F out was wrong on her part. So it's the end of the night or the end of the episode, and we are at Sheree's Barrett all pajama party. Everybody looked great. Drew and Sheree had on the same outfit, but before Drew got there, Fatum gets there. Fatum lets us know that her friend did a background check on Drew and Ralph and found several different aliases for Ralph and Drew, and one in particular was a female's named Danielle. Drew's explanation of like why Danielle's alias name came up didn't make sense to me, but everybody's like, ooh, why do they have those? Some people saying that maybe it's because they got bad credit. Who knows? But it was just a lot. It was a lot. Everybody's like, oh, girl, you did a background check. We see Lisa Wu pop up. Lisa was doing a lot for me. Like, her getting mad at Sonya, but you could tell that everybody was drunk. Like, drunk Kenya is a good time. Kenya drank like 6 or 7 drinks. Marlo was pressed about Kenya, and Kenya was drunk and didn't care. Marlo just has a hard-on for Kenya, and for Marlo to say that Kenya has the can't takes Marlo's, it should be reversed. Marlo can't take Kenya, and Marlo is probably gonna get chewed up and spit out once the reunion comes, cause she do too much. She just do too much. She do too much. She just really does. We find out that Candy and Marlo have a nice sit down, and that's where Marlo expresses to Candy that she's like losing herself. She's drinking more and she's trying to get better, but she's overwhelmed being a parent. They all sit down to have dinner. They did like paint and sip with new models. Both of the models were actually very attractive and really pretty. The boy was cute and so was the lady. Kenya drunk, telling everybody to say something nice about each other. They're screaming, yes, queen, every time somebody says something. And then this whole exchange between Drew and Fatum and then Drew and Sonya. So while they were doing paint and sip, Drew comes to Sonya about Sonya talking to Ralph and the whole, like, are they really busy things? And the truth is, Sonya said that to be shady to Ralph, but I didn't think it was that serious that Drew needed to talk to Sonya about it. But Sonya just finds Drew to be aggravating, and you can very much tell because there was no need for Sonya to get upset in that moment about Drew pressing her about what she said. Drew was very calm, and Sonya just was like, ugh, Sonya just don't like Drew. So you just don't like Drew. So then while they're sitting down at the table, they're all doing the whole yes, queen, because Kenya came up with this with her drunk self. Drunk Kenya is a fun time. And Kenya snitches on Fatum about the whole aliases names. Drew gets upset, calls Fatum a stalker. Fatum ain't backing down. She pretty much doubling down on it, like, sis, you keep pressing me and we gonna find more about y'all. Um, Drew's explanation as to why her husband's name, or like why the alias Danielle came up, saying that that was her assistant's name. But my thing is like, if you're doing a background check on one person, why would another person pop up on it? So I was just like, yeah, something over there at the, at Drew and Ralph's household. It just it's a little shaky. It's a little shaky. It's a little shaky. So, like I said, Fatum and Drew are getting into it. They kind of like moved past it, but Drew was like, Sheree, you were mad at me about what Anthony said, and now like you're not trying to check your friend. But I agree with Sheree in that moment, where Sheree was like, she's saying this stuff directly towards you, and I was never going to repeat what she said. You are going around repeating what Anthony said about me. So, Drew, you're still wrong. You were still wrong, sis. You were still wrong. So, Fatum ended up bringing like coochie incense to like, ward off the bad spirits of Tyrone inside of Sheree. They all were having a good time. Kenya and Marlo getting into it because Kenya being drunk, talking about, her 24 inches of weave. Marlo being passive aggressive, saying, I'm so happy Kenya can have this moment about, her wig. And because Kenya doesn't like the whole wig conversation. And then Marlo's like, Kenya's like, Marlo, you always trying to comfort me. And Marlo's like, no, I'm just happy your self-esteem is better. And Kenya does the whole like, I am the moment thing all up in the camera's face. And Marlo's like, but you weren't a moment enough for Mark. And I was like, Marlo, there was no need for you to bring up Mark. There was definitely no need for you to bring up Mark. Like, Marlo just can't take Kenya, and we can all see it. And then the episode ends with Marlo inviting everyone to Blue Ridge Mountain and Kenya running around the house drunk. And it was the end of the episode. It was cute for what it was. So let's move on to episode 10. Okay, episode 10. So it opens up with Kenya and Candy hanging out at like some children's place with a bunch of kids. And I was just like, could not be me because that's too much. But we see Brooklyn and we see Blaze, and they're having a good time playing on the equipment there. We see Candy and Kenya connecting on a business level, as we find out that Kenya's still having distribution issues because of, the Panasonic happening. Things aren't coming as fastly as they normally would for her to distribute her products. We find out that her products are in CVS as well as Walmart, and she's talking about scaling up her company and making it a lot bigger. And it was just nice to see them connect on that level. That's probably why they get along so well, because they have many facets of their lives that they connect. Their moms, their entrepreneurs, as well as they've been famous since the 90s. So it works. So Kenya and Candy's relationship works. Candy also tells Kenya about Marlo giving up the boys. And what I find interesting is like Candy is still now, like, Candy has always been messy, but this season I feel like she's been more upfront with it. That was one of my gripes with Candy, is Candy has always been messy, but she does this thing where she hides her hand, and a lot of people don't call her out on it. But this season, it's in full effect. Candy has been telling everybody about Marlo giving up her kids. She told Kenya, she told Monyetta and Drew. She's just telling everybody, she's just telling Marlo's business. But we then see everybody packing to go up to the mountains of Blue Ridge. We then see Candy playing with Ace, her son, at home, and she's packing with her stylist. Candy ends up FaceTiming Marlo, telling her that Kenya's not coming. And Marlo's like, girl, the trip will survive without her. I'm good to go. So then we actually get a really nice scene with Marlo and her sister, Crystal. We find out that Marlo took Crystal in when she was 14. So it seems like Marlo has taken in people and then let them go, because she talked in this situation with her sister that like she took in Crystal when she was 14. Crystal didn't want to really act right, so she let Crystal go stay with her mom, and then Crystal end up coming back to Marlo after she saw how crazy it was with her mom. And Crystal talked about how, sometimes you don't know how to adapt when you're thrust around different places. I do think it's crazy that Marlo send them kids over there with her sister, and the sister is only living in a 3-bedroom apartment with 4 kids. Like, it's not like a house. That is too many people. That's 7 people in one house. No, ma'am, Marlo. 30 days. Girl, take a week and then get your kids back. Take them kids back so your sister can have a break. And I hope you taking care of sister's kids when she needs a break. But we find out where Marlo gets her, foul mouth from. And it's from her mom. Her mom used to call her ugly, Bigfoot, Jerry curl, just really nasty. And Marlo, unfortunately, took on that trait. Marlo, her sister, Crystal, also tells her that, you have to watch how you speak to the boys, basically saying, you can't be saying, I don't have to take care of y'all, and I don't have to do this and this for y'all and that. And like I said about episode 9, Marlo is someone walking around with a lot of trauma, and unfortunately, she's repeating the same patterns that her mom bestowed upon her in a negative way because Marlo hasn't taken the time to actually deal with those traumas and those issues. Hopefully with her going to Sheree's life coach, because we find out in episode 9 that Sheree referred her to the life coach, that it helps her. And then she does become better, and she helps her nephews be the best versions of themselves that they can be. So we see everybody is driving down or driving up to the Blue Ridge Mountains. Sheree and Marlo are in a car. They're eating in their car. We then see Drew, Candy, and Monyetta get in the car. And the lady tells them that they can't eat in the car. So Monyetta, Drew, and Candy are like, well, we gonna eat in the house and then come get you. Because, girl, we're not driving an hour and 30 minutes and not eating. And I don't blame them. I'd have been like, sis, we're not going to be driving in this car for 30 minutes and we can't eat or drink. Where they do that at? Where do they do that at? So they're driving down. Like I said before, Candy tells Monyetta and Drew about Marlo giving up the boys for 30 days. And honestly, Drew and Monyetta to me had the perfect response. They were sympathetic as but also being like, ew, that's a bit much, because we found out that Monyetta's dad's youngest brother died, and they took in their 3 kids. Her and her husband took in their 3 kids to raise, as well as Drew's mom took in, I guess, her nephews as well when they didn't have anyone to raise them. So it's like people do this in families, because we all know the foster care system isn't that great. I mean, I do have family members who are participants in the foster care system, and they actually do right by the kids. But I have heard horror stories. So it is normally beneficial when you have family members that are able to take in your kids when you need help or you need assistance. It is true that you need a village to raise kids. And with the way in which the world runs now, there aren't that many villages, but we do need them, genuinely. We then get to the cabin. The cabin is nice. If we going camping or if I'm going to be in the mountains, put me in a cabin like that. It was really nice. Everybody's room looked nice. Nobody got a janky room. I was actually surprised that it looks I would rather stay in this cabin versus the cabin that they were in Real Housewives of Orange County. This cabin looked nice. It looked full. It looked fun. It looked warm. The other cabin just looked sterile. Ugh, I didn't like that cabin. What I found funny was Sheree and Marlo arguing about who passed gas in the car. That was funny. They did do this cute little candle game of it was a candle with an insult and a positive, and whoever could guess who it was about got their own room. And I thought it was cute. I thought it was a cute game. We find out that Sonia is in Miami doing this thing called iFit. She did one video for them. They got a very great positive response. So the people decided they wanted Sonia to come back and Ross as well to film something with them. So she'll be there in a minute. Like I said, Kenya says she not coming, but lo and behold, Kenya shows up. Kenya shows up to the restaurant that the ladies end up going to after they get to the cabin. So once Kenya and Sonya got to the restaurant, the vibe of the group shifted because before they got there, everybody was having a good time joking and laughing, and then things shift because we know Sonya and Drew have beef. And Drew was like, I don't even really know what's up with her because she the one who started with me. She came at me with the whole charade thing. She came at me with the drop it like Drew thing. Then she uninvited me, then invited me. And it's like she's the one with the issue. When Sonya gets there, she lets the ladies know that they're all going to go to Jamaica, basically from her being sponsored by iFit. So everyone's coming to Jamaica and they can bring a significant other. They then ask Kenya, like, is she coming to stay at the cabin? Kenya's like, she's going to think about it. She really doesn't know where Brooklyn's going to stay. And like all the ladies said, girl, you know where your child is going to stay. Are you going to stay with us or not? Marlo basically says, if you're not going to stay with us, then I don't want you to come to like the excursions because I have a lot of things planned and I think we should all be together. And then we get to this session between Marlo and Kenya. And truthfully, Kenya read Marlo down, but I think Marlo slightly read Kenya down as well. Kenya basically told Marlo, you're a hurt person. You're not sincere. You're not a friend. You don't know how to be a friend. What you give off is toxic love. I had an issue with you calling me a liar because you lied and said I lied about being pregnant with my child. And now you're saying I'm lying about being sick. And I just don't see it for you. And basically, Kenya set her boundaries with Marlo. Marlo comes back and say, okay, but I really didn't believe that you were sick. And for Marlo, it's okay if Marlo didn't believe that Kenya was sick. Marlo said, yes, I'm a hurt person. Yes, I have insecurities. I have insecurities about my feet, about my bald spot. Like you said, I went to jail. I'm a prostitute. I look up to you. We had the same experiences growing up or similar experiences growing up. And you've come out way better. You're more educated than me. You're this and you're that. And I genuinely respect you. So if we don't have to like not like each other, but we should be able to respect each other. And I mean, like, if you hate me, you hate me. And Kenya's like, I don't hate you. I dislike the things that you do. And Marlo's like, I dislike the things that you do. So they're like over talking each other. And Marlo sets boundaries with Kenya as well. Marlo tells Kenya, either you gonna come and stay at the house with us or you don't need to participate in our excursions. And honestly, I can give both of them credit. Kenya set a clear boundary with Marlo where she was like, girl, I don't like that you called me a liar. You already said that I was lying about being pregnant. And that just shifted everything for me because you and me aren't on those type of terms where we can be on that level. And Marlo set a boundary with Kenya where she was like, girl, this is my trip. If I don't want you to be there, if you're not going to participate in anything, then I can have that say. Plus, I do think you were lying. So I can't really fault Marlo if she really thought Kenya was lying. And I also can't fault Kenya if that really hurt Kenya because she was triggered by Marlo saying that she lied about being pregnant. My thing is they're both the same people in a sense. It's just that Kenya has a better head on her shoulders compared to Marlo. If we gonna call a spade a spade. Marlo really doesn't know how to be a friend to anybody. And I often think that maybe what Nene was saying about Marlo not getting a peach had some weight to it. We all thought it was harsh, but maybe Nene was protecting Marlo in the sense of saying you would do better not being a peach holder because if people really pried into your life, they really might legitly not like what they see. And that's what's happening. A lot of people are like disgusted with Marlo's antics, how she's coming at Kenya, how she's handling her boys. And I get it. I'm of the belief that like I kind of give Marlo grace, but I can also understand people not vibing with Marlo, especially Kenya. But I do feel like both of them were on bullshit when they decided to be friends because they never, like I keep saying, they never had a real serious talk where they legitimately hashed out their feelings for each other. Marlo just half-ass apologized and Kenya just accepted it and thought things were going to be like clear and sunshines and rainbows. And I feel like they should have sat down before filming and had a hard conversation about what they like about each other and what they dislike about each other. Because at this point, we're gonna start stepping into Portia versus Kenya territory, and after a while that got boring and old and stale and no one cared, and we're already doing Marlo versus Kenya and people are already like bored and stale and like feel like it's stale. At least I feel that way. Because I just feel like they both be coming at each other, more so on Marlo's point, but Kenya be throwing her shots too, but Marlo does throw her shots when it's not needed. And Kenya normally just combats it. But I just feel like at this point, I'm over both of them. And I want us to move on. Genuinely want us to move on. But everything got awkward after that. Honestly, I felt bad for the ladies because I've been in a similar situation where two friends are beefing or two associates are beefing, and I can see both sides of it and I understand where both parties are coming from, and it just gets uncomfortable. It just gets totally uncomfortable. So I understand that feeling. But yeah, y'all, that is how the episode ended. It seems like next episode is going to be interesting. I think I'm going to be annoyed with Drew throwing that dog bone at Fatum because it seems like Fatum shows up. But yeah, y'all, that is it. That is all. Remember to be bravely authentic and drop down in the comments below and give me your thoughts. Bye.